Good morning, everybody. Jody Brozick with Winter Warriors Live, here this morning with head coach Dan Aaker of the Winter Warriors. Morning, Dan.
Morning.
Your Winter Warriors are 4-0, unanimously the top-ranked 11B team in South Dakota after defeating Valentine Badgers 48-0. But that score really doesn't indicate the type of game that was played last Friday, does it?
No, not really. I think that it was exactly what we needed, and we knew that going in that they were a pretty good team, and I thought they had a really good game plan, especially from an offensive standpoint to attack some things that I wouldn't say were vulnerable to, but there's areas when you play zone coverage that if you get time and you can hit, and I got to give them credit. We really struggled with the slant. And some things that they brought deeper down the field in some of their routes. We worked a lot on stopping some of the things that they actually did. And when you run a good route and you throw a good ball, sometimes you're just going to be there. We had some breakdowns, but I think the biggest thing I was happy with, even though we gave up, I think, 180 yards passing, which is too much. It really is. But we never let any of those 8 to 10 yard plays turn into 15, 20, 30, 40-yard touchdowns. We never gave up the big play, and so we were in pretty good position most of the time and made a tackle. They got outside us on a couple times with Jet. They cut our defensive line a lot, but we planned for that. We practiced for that, and I didn't think we handled the edge very well. A couple plays with getting cut, and even on some pass rush things. And that's one thing with defensively. We're a solid defense. We're a good defensive team. There's no question about it. We're not as good pass rushing as we've been in the past. We're a lot bigger and stronger, and we shut their run completely down. So we had a hard time getting pressure to them, and then they were smart enough to throw quick routes. I think the one thing the secondary was disappointed in when they were in their trips sets. They would run sort of some level stuff and crossing stuff, and we got sucked in on a couple of those that shouldn't have happened because we spent a lot of time on that. But the bottom line is, did we play a great defensive game? No. We played a very good defensive game. They never got inside the 25, and we kept them at 0. Offensively, I thought we played very well. That was a physical, aggressive defense. Looking at the game plan, I thought that we had a good game plan about what we thought they would do, and they really didn't change anything that we didn't expect, and there were areas they thought we could attack, and we did. But I think a big part of the whole game, Jody, was the opening kickoff. They were excited, they were confident, they were ready to go. They wanted to play us from the way things went the last couple of weeks, and we took a little bit of that energy and their heart out from that opening play, and that was big. That really set the tone for us. So it was a really good road win. I mean, we're at halftime. That was the first time we really had to sit down and scheme stuff, try to adjust to slants and play a little bit better. Our starters played three full quarters, which we haven't did yet. We needed that, and probably most importantly, as we go forward, when you play a good team, you're always going to see things that you need to get better at. And I don't think the film session went really great for our guys, and those are never easy. But they needed to see the things that we need to get better at, and it wasn't about 48-9. I probably mentioned this after week 1. It's not about the score. It's about how well can we play and how good can we be. And if we address these issues, we can still get better, and that's the whole point. We want to keep getting better and hold ourselves as coaches, players, and the entire team at a high level. So I thought overall, when you reflect on it a little bit better, that was a heck of a win for us in the style to really kind of control and handle a very good football team who, they're going to win a lot more games here. So as I started this whole question, it was exactly what we needed to see at this time.
Homecoming week, number 4 ranked and undefeated Chamberlain Cubs coming to town. Is your team having fun yet staying focused?
Yes and no. I think they're having fun, and the focus was there most of the part. Wednesday, we did not have a very good start to the practice, and the entire team ended up doing a lot more physical exertion than we should have. But I think I got my point across. We had a terrible first half of practice, and I don't have to talk about that very often with this group because they know they've been through it. but they know that as coaches we weren't very happy, and they know better. And but I will say this: after we had to address those issues, and they had to go up and down the hill a couple times and do a little extra work, we finished with a very good practice, and then recovered. And they understand. They know that, and those things will happen time to time throughout the season. We just hope it doesn't happen a lot. Probably the only second practice all year where I've been disappointed with where they came with at the start. And we talked a lot about that going into this week, that at 3:30 it has to be Chamberlain and us. And it wasn't on Wednesday. But sometimes those can be practices that just turn south and we never recover. I'll give them credit, and I think that's part of our senior leadership is we finished with a very good second half of practice. And I've had many times throughout the years where the never gets any better, and it's almost like you want to send them home, and so we're wasting our time. But we ended up accomplishing that, and I think message was sent in, message was received, and hopefully we don't have that again to finish the year. But it goes, and it's not an excuse, but it goes with everything we're doing. Sometimes they are having fun, and we want them to. We want to encourage them to take part in everything that goes on every day. All right, but ultimately, homecoming comes down to one thing at the end of the week. We want them to enjoy, and it's unique here. It's great to see the alumni come back, and from a football standpoint, all the former players that have been through the program, and Friday night is where it ends, and it's playing Chamberlain. That's from our end is the biggest thing, and so did it surprise me we had to deal with that? Not necessarily. Disappointed, but it didn't affect the overall week. We're ready to play Chamberlain.
Speaking of Chamberlain, Coach Jerry Rhodes' Cubs are a blend of youth and seasoned players. Clearly a program that's been on the rise in 11B over the last 3 years. As far as Friday night, let's talk Cubs offense and key players that you've been looking at on film.
Now they really spread you out, and they've been averaging 61 points a game. So obviously they're doing something right. Our biggest focus, and they're fairly young. They really are. Their skill position's a little bit older. Kniplin's played for a couple of years, and they like to throw the ball to him. Powers has had some good days receiving, but Dominguez, their quarterback's just a sophomore, but really, really strong arm. And a lot of things that they want to do out of the passing game is deep. And so preventing a big play over the top has been the big stress of the week. And two things need to take place in order to prevent that. One, we've got to be in good position in our secondary and not allow them to get past us. And we got to get some pressure on them this week. We struggle with that. I mentioned it earlier. It's not something we're really good at. So part of that is, with Coach Olson, I think we'll get a little more pressure with their backers. But, our defensive line, they need to read their keys. There's no trickery, I would say. It's obvious pass reads with their offensive line, with the things they do. So when we read that, we got to get past them and get pressure on them. But it starts like every week when every team we play. They're do some run. They've ran the ball fairly well out of a spread offense, which isn't sometimes that easy to do in the previous 3 games. But I think there's a lot of keys to what they want to do with certain motions, with certain alignments. So we just got to be smart football players and then play really well on the line of scrimmage, which if we stop the run, we can expect the pass, which helps us all the way around. So we can't give them both. And then I think getting pressure on the quarterback is going to be a big thing. But, they've been putting up a lot of points. And, looking back, we haven't given up more than 8 in 16 games. So something's got to give there. I feel defensively that we'll be solid, but we've got to shut them down.
Defensively, defensive scheme out of the Cubs that we'll see this week?
They're a traditional 4-3 team, much like us, except for they like to play quarters coverage with 4 deep. And I think part of that is with a lot of teams they play are really spread, and that's what they've seen the first 3 games. I don't know if any of those teams even showed a tight end. Last year, that's what they played against us as well. So I kind of expect that. There may be a few wrinkles, maybe some sort of 6-man front, but I don't think they'll probably change a lot. It's going to be really tough, in my opinion, for them to really stop our run game with only 7 guys in the box. But another thought process with what they do defensively, if they keep 4 deep, we've seen teams that'll do that knowing that the line of scrimmage is to our advantage, but that prevents big plays where you have 4 guys not letting a 10-yard, 8-yard run turn into a 50. So we focused number one on obviously their defensive fronts and things they like to do, but that second level block, which this team has been really good at for a year and a half, probably the best one I've ever had as far as weak side guys getting up to the next level away from the play, and those are the blocks that turn into big plays. And there's no secret that we've been a lot of big plays over the last year and a half. So that's been the focus, but it really comes down to line of scrimmage. And we've challenged we're senior from tight end to tight end. They rotate at least 3 freshmen in there at a time, and they're going to be very good football players. But the challenge for us, or it should be the challenge we put out as coaches to our guys, is seniors that have been starting for 2 full years, some of them 3 years, letting freshmen, younger underclassmen linemen come in here and control the line of scrimmage. That can't happen. And I think they're ready to show what kind of group they have up front. So, and Chamberlain's defense did a nice job. 2 shutouts and only 12 points on the year. So you look at the stats. I shouldn't not necessarily stats, but the scores of the 2 teams: 200 to 0 with one, and I think it's 183 to 12 with the other. So, something's got to give there, right? And hopefully it's to our favor.
Is it going to be an 8-6 ball game with all those points being put up? That typically is what happens on other levels.
Yeah. We would be very, very upset if we gave up over 8 points to anybody. And and I think that offensively we'd be very upset if we were held to 8 or 6. So not to make predictions on the game or anything, but I don't see that being that low scoring on both sides. So, but you're right. If you look at those stats, something's got to give somewhere. And with homecoming and everything that, our guys are going to be excited to play. We've had looking at the history of Chamberlain, we've really dominated that series. And I think it's 2007 maybe that they got us last. So we're on a pretty good win streak. And but they have something to prove. They're a team that, as you said before, on the rise. And what better team to try to prove it against than us. So they know it won't be easy coming into our house on homecoming, but they may even have a little chip on their shoulder about not being really recognized. They're finally ranked this year or this week, but from the start they've had, I think that they probably feel they should be getting more recognition. So what better chance for them to try to prove it, and we're going to be ready for them.
Dan, as always, thank you for your time and good luck on Friday.
Thanks, Jody.